What's going on? Straight Talk Faithful, your host, your boy, George Mackay, back in studio again, pre-recorded as I always do. And today, I got another good one for you. If you're listening via audio, I'll introduce him in a short second. If you're on YouTube and you're already catching the video, you can see I have in front of me right now, this man is an up-and-coming indie talent. He is from the USA, as much as I am from Canada. Please welcome to Straight Talk Wrestling, the 11th Warrior. What's up, my dude?
What's up, George? How you doing, man? How's life?
Good. Life is good. You know, I live in Ontario, Canada, and we just went into phase 2 of this COVID-19 reopening. You guys were a little bit ahead of us. In certain areas, you already got your gyms open. You got all your stuff kind of back in full force. We're just getting to those stages now. As you can see, I am in desperate need of a haircut, and it is coming very soon. So I'm excited about that. Looks good. I appreciate that. My wife did it for me. I kind of got the COVID barbershop going on at home.
Nice.
So, standard question I always ask any wrestler that I interview, and it's kind of my go-to question to start off anything. I call it the defining moment. It's that moment in time you remember falling in love with this business that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, man. Age of 4, I had my first vision that I was going to be in a professional wrestling ring, and I knew from there. I saw it. I was watching Macho Man Randy Savage. I couldn't tell you which match it was, but yeah, man. I just remember him coming off the top ropes and doing an elbow drop, and that memory to this day is still stuck with me, and was pretty much the driving force from there. I was just listening to my intuition.
Well, it sounds like a really good person to be idolizing, of course. I mean, Macho Man, one of the greats. And I'm assuming that you have quite a high-flying style, right? I mean, you try to do your research, you try to find stuff on the internet, but it's so hard to really pick through all the stuff that's true or that isn't true, especially in the indie scene. So for you, what is your style when you step in that ring?
Man, my style, it's I don't know how to describe my style. I think a guy like me is very much who he is in the ring. I think I'm very much my personality. I think I'm very much, if you want to use the term high flying, but I don't even look at it that way. I think I'm very explosive. I'm very intense. I enjoy the artistry of showing emotion in the ring. And if a high flying spot is the right moment for me, with the intensity and emotion behind it, then maybe I'm high flying that day. But I always look at myself as someone who has to feel the audience, has to feel the moment to create the art that is necessary for the thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. I always consider wrestling to be an art form. A lot of people don't see it that way, but I can already tell that you and I are on that wavelength where it is. It's a story. It's a movement. It's everything that's done, and it's completely done without words. Occasionally, you have your spots where somebody may be like, come at me, or somebody maybe come across the ring, or like, I'm not done, or pandering to the crowd. You have those moments for sure. But the bulk, the meat and potatoes of the match is the move sets. It's the fluidness. It's the flow. It's how everything. And the big important part of it is that energy in the crowd, feeding off that energy. And you can always tell which way a match needs to go. You might even change it up on the fly based on the audience around you.
The audience is just a part of it, and that's what's fucking cool, dude. Can I swear? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Don't worry. This is not for kids. It's all good.
Sweet. No, but I think it is about the story, and it's about capturing the audience. Look, the audience is like they're that extra thing that's in your art that you won't expect, one way or the other, whether they're loud or they're quiet, they cheer, they boo, whatever. They play such an intricate role in the manifestation of how things should be written out on paper in terms of in the moment. Like, the audience is one of the most important parts of professional wrestling. It's actually funny because we're in a pandemic, and the most important thing, I think, is one of the most important things, other than the two performers, the two wrestlers, who are the artists as well, but the third artist, who's not really there. And that's an interesting thing to me right now, because that forces people to change the game. It forces for them to come up with different storytelling that might be different. And you see it a little bit in WWE with these I guess you can call them these cinematic matches, but this has been kind of starting very slowly. So I think it's an interesting time right now to not only be a wrestler, but also the wrestling fan who can't express themselves a particular way and be a part of that. It's interesting.
Oh, I miss it. I miss going to indie shows especially where I'm from in Ontario, Canada. We have a huge indie scene out here. So many great promotions. And where are you located?
Yeah, man, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. So I started my career up in Canada, actually. Neo Sport Pro, Empire State Wrestling, ESW. This was, 2004. And yeah, went to Ohio Valley Wrestling and 2000 at the end of 2004. I got a little piece of that Ontario, man. Like a lot of fun people out there back. Did you go to Neosport Pro? Do you remember this, or was this like
Neosport Pro? I'll be honest with you. Neosport Pro was a little bit before my time in the indie scene. The longest standing promotion that I've been attending and been a part of has been 5 years now, and that's Destiny. Destiny World Wrestling,
Oh yeah,
out of Mississauga, run by the
yep.
Iceman George the Iceman Menendez. He is a fantastic promoter, one hell of a booker, and he brings in some of the best talent. But I've interviewed a lot of cats from the South, a lot of guys from your area, Kentucky, Tennessee, and I know you guys have one hell of a scene out there. And I know your fans are, from what I've heard, I've even had some wrestlers from Canada who have gone over there. They've done the whole Southern Belt tour. And they always say that the fans in Kentucky, especially, they're rowdy and they're a fun time. And it sucks. It must be painful for you right now, especially because with WWE and AEW, there is that outlet for wrestling. There's that, we can get to it for something. But you being an indie wrestler, it's hard to have those, that you can't have empty arena shows. You could try to broadcast on YouTube if you have that big enough of an audience, but a lot of times you need those physical fans in the arena. So from a wrestling standpoint, what you're seeing with WWE doing, I mean, yeah, the cinematic matches are absolutely cool, but what about the stuff they've been doing lately with even AEW or even Impact Wrestling? The empty arena, like weekly cinematic shows. What are your takes on that? And now they're incorporating their up-and-coming roster into the kind of mix to give that crowd experience.
Well, I commend both companies. I mean, I think nobody knows what the fuck to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's if I had to look at it that way, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but what do you do? How do you handle this? Do you put people in the crowd that are your own roster and make them cheer and boo? Do you? I don't know what the answer to that is, but yeah, I think it's an interesting time in life. Forget about the wrestling business. Look at life as a whole. It's a very interesting time. And so, because there's so much uncertainty, I think it does suck. Yeah, man, I think it sucks that you can't have an audience and perform. And I think it sucks that one day all of this seems real, and then one day this doesn't seem real, and then they're closing things, they're opening things, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Like, there's just a lot of stuff happening right now, man, in the world. And I don't know. I as a performer, sure, I miss it, I love it, but also I could say as a performer, taking a seat and just sitting and thinking of your own stuff and thinking about who you are as a human. I think a lot of people, what they might underestimate is they're going to come back stronger. They're going to come back with a different perspective, a perspective where they will see how they should perform differently, and they might have a deeper sense of appreciation. And the same thing with the fans. And so I have this optimistic point of view, if you were to ask me on it. It's like, I think it will be okay, but right now it does kind of suck. I don't know if wrestling sucks. I don't know if, like, I can watch these products and say, well, they suck because of this, this, and this. I just think one of the main things that's missing is the audience, and I think that sucks as a whole. I don't know if it worsens their product or whatever. It's not my cup of tea, but at the same time, what else do you do? How else do you justify weekly television shows on a, major station and make this all kind of work? I don't know, man. There's 4 phases, right? Is that my understanding?
There is, yeah.
So how long realistically does it take to get to the fourth phase? You know, what is that? Fourth phase meaning people come into an arena? Is that what would that be included in the fourth phase? I'm not quite sure, but
I believe that is the case. I believe that the fourth and final phase is like big gatherings over a couple thousand people. So at that point, yeah, you're talking arenas, you're talking sporting events, you're talking wrestling shows. Not so much indie wrestling shows unless there's a big event happening, but you're talking like WWE, AEW, all those big cats in the yard. They're going to get their fans back in the fourth phase. But for the indie scene, I think they're going to increase when it comes down to it. I think phase three, you're allowed gatherings in your home of about 20 people at that point. And then in actual like restaurants and stuff, you can have upwards of 50 people. So if restaurants can have that, that means that an indie show could put on a small venue, sell out 50 tickets, maybe 60 tickets, and then that's it. That's kind of your audience. But for a lot of
do
you
you raise your
guys,
price? Yeah, you'd have to raise the price because the talent costs a certain amount. You know, I'm like looking at it from a financial standpoint though. Like,
right.
so would you as someone who's supporting indie wrestling, would you pay more money for less being around less people? I don't know. You know, and are those people willing to do that? I don't know. It's what I think about though,
I
from
I
a from a
I
business
believe
standpoint.
I believe that if a lot of wrestling fans were passionate people, so if one of my favorite promotions opens up down here and says, "Listen, we're putting on a show, 50 people, first come, first serve." Our tickets used to be $20. Now they're going to be $50. I would do that because it's still something that I love. So me
Okay.
personally, in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah.
yes, I would pay double the price to have less people around me and still be able to watch my favorites put on a great show. So I would do that
That's
100%.
awesome. That's awesome. That's a cool thing. That's a cool. See, that's man. That's what's special about wrestling fans. I mean, you know, fuck, we're all marks. You know,
It's true.
we're all marks. We're all marks, so we can freaking make our mark eventually. That's what it's all. That's what it is. You start off as a mark, and then you want to make your mark. So it's this like, I just think it's a I think that's cool when I can hear someone across from me on the other side of things say, dude, I would fucking pay the $50, or if it was 20 and they said 50, I would pay for that. That's an interesting perspective, and I think that says a lot about wrestling and how the people feel about it, man. The fans are passionate. They're the best part. That's why we perform, you know, and I just can't imagine what it's like to be a part of those companies right now and carrying the show in a way that's awkward, in a way. So I don't know, like, I think it's an interesting time in life, bro. And I think it's going to get better though, and I think these people are going to become stronger performers out of it. I think all of us win. We don't see it yet, but the sun always rises.
Oh, 150%. And I believe, like you said, wrestling fans are, in my opinion, we are the best sports fans that are out there because rain, shine, snow, sleet, heated temperatures, an arena with no air conditioning, we're still going to fill it up. We're going to bitch and complain about it, but we're still going to fill it up. We're going to drive 2 hours to the nearest show because the guy on the card or the girl on the card, we just love them so damn much that it's willing to put that extra gas in our tank to do it. We will travel through any kind of weather conditions to get out there. Why? Because we give so much to the business, and the business gives so much to us. The coolest part for me right now is that I'm a proud dad, two girls. I got a 10-year-old and my 10-year-old. The last year, I've been exposing her more and more to the Ontario indie scene that we have here. And the best part about it is seeing the relationships she's developed with the wrestlers. I go to a show, or when COVID wasn't around, we used to go to a show, and she would go up to them, and she'd be like, "Hi, do you remember me?" And they'd be like, "Oh my God, I do. I still have the bracelet you made me, or I have the picture that you drew." And that's what I love. The interactions that they could go in the ring, they could turn it off, and they could show that face. But I love that once all the smoke's cleared, they see a fan that they've seen at 20 shows, and they'll stop and say, "Man, I remember you at that show. You killed it. You screamed your head off. Can we take a picture?" Hell yeah, let's take a picture. Let's do that. And that's what I love about the wrestling business so much, is it's not like when you meet a hockey star or a basketball star or a baseball star, very rarely do they connect with you unless you're a Make-A-Wish kid. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But wrestlers will connect with anybody that gives them enough to come out, pay that money, cheer for them, and then go home with a T-shirt or an autograph. I think that's the best part about the business.
Well, they're part. The fans are part of the story making, aren't they? In that regard, their passion that it comes through in moments in matches that make the matches awesome. It's funny when sometimes people say, "Look at my match and look what we did," and I'm like, "Look what the audience is doing. Look at what they're doing for you. Look at what they're appreciating." There's such a big role in the storytelling of our human lives, all of us. You know what I mean? And that to me is the coolest part. I do. It's all about the fucking fans, man. Always about the fans. Always about the audience.
Absolutely. So before we get into a little bit of your history and your training, there's
Sure.
a trend happening right now in wrestling, and I don't know how comfortable you are talking about it, but I think you know where I'm going with this. It's the whole speaking out. It's the whole speaking out movement that's happened recently, and this is kind of cool for me because to get a perspective from a guy in the trenches, somebody in. And a lot of it's been all over the place. We've had wrestlers outed here in Canada. You've had a lot of guys outed out back home in the U.S. and everything that's happening over there. Dave Lagana from NWA stepped down. Impact Wrestling said goodbye to Joey Ryan. Said goodbye to, they suspended Michael Elgin. Said goodbye to Dave Chris. AEW has put Sammy Guevara on a suspension without pay. Jimmy Havoc's doing this stuff there. WWE, nobody's really come out yet. But a lot of the older guys like Congo Kong and stuff like that, everybody's kind of come out and said they bullied me, they harassed me, there was dick pics, there was inappropriate comments made, text messages, all this kind of shit. And it's just horrible. It's hard as a wrestling fan and a podcaster and a media. It breaks my heart.
Sucks, man.
It breaks my heart. And the one thing I could say is that I think this, when it's all done and again all the smoke clears and we get back to business as usual in wrestling, I think this will make locker rooms better. I think it'll make promoters pay more attention. And I think it'll make other wrestlers treat other wrestlers with a little bit more respect and dignity, whether it be male or female. What's your take on all of that?
Well, 100. Let me start by saying I 190,000% agree with you. Like, so we're both fathers, and I'm a father of a daughter. She's 12.
Yes, I'm a girl dad. Woohoo, girl dads. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, it's cool, man. I really love being a dad. I fucking love being a dad. I often wonder if I wasn't a dad at a young age, how would I have ended up as a man? I was raised by a mom anyway. I was raised by a woman, so like, I don't think I'd be too different. But like, I look at these situations that are occurring that you never hear about. Like, it's like, wow, it must have been that much of a, you hear these things about certain guys that you've seen or rubbed elbows with along the way, but you're like, oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, really? And it's I don't know what to say, man. It's really heartbreaking. Dude, it's heartbreaking. And I feel more worse for the people, the victims, the women who didn't feel like they could help themselves. I don't know, man. This is the stuff I fear as a dad. This is the stuff you think about. I've been in my 20s. I've been a promiscuous dude. Can't say I've ever had a problem with younger people or people in the wrestling business. I was always an older women kind of guy. But, when I look back at my days where I was, being a piece of shit, I mean, I broke up marriages and stuff and I had to handle that the really hard way. And I think what these guys are going to have to do is not defend themselves, but take responsibility for their actions. And I'm not saying that's going to get you liked, but it's a little bit more honorable than trying to defend and fight certain truths. And I just think that's really important for these men to do that. I don't know what to say. I'm a guy I believe in, I'm a man of love, man. And I think that I want to see more love. And I think you're right. I think this is clearing out a lot of the negative energy if you want to look at it that way, or the fat. It's trimming the fat. I came up in an industry when I first started, dude. It was very manipulative and evil in certain ways, and I'm now, through this experience, through looking at what's going on, I'm now looking at my story and saying, wow, there was a lot of weird shit I saw along the way, but you think it's normal because you were taught that this is okay. You were taught, and I'm not talking about from men and women aspect. I'm talking about from a hazing aspect. I'm talking from like being bullied or picked on, and you just don't know what to do because you just got to keep your mouth shut or you're going to get in trouble. Like it's like this type of fear you're living in. And I think it's just so cool that there's a generation now, this tier under me, I would say, is correcting it or doing their best to communicate the wrongdoings of this and that this is bad shit. And I think that needs to get. I think that stuff needs to finally get out of the industry, man. I mean, I remember walking into the industry and you're hearing about these old timers talk about all the messed up things they did, but it was so normal. It's like so normal to them. And I guess that goes to show you, George, that this is like we're in a different time today. We're in a different like era of life, and this is an opportunity. So yeah, man, I think it's really shitty in a lot of ways, and then I think it's really fucking awesome because people like our kids who may or may not ever watch this industry when they're older or get into it, but you at least know in your own mindset, okay, they cleared the bullshit, and hopefully now wrestling can be a place where it is safe, man. I don't know what to say. I had to actually stop like looking at things because I literally felt like my heart was breaking all the time. Like it's just like, oh, I'm like, I got to stay away from this stuff. Like, it's like, and then I sit there and then I'm just thinking about these people who are suffering. And I'm not talking about the men who got caught. I'm talking about the women who have to feel these things, man. As a man who in his life has grown and fallen and got up and grown, as a man who's been through that, I have a lot of empathy for people who are trying to heal themselves in these other ways. And I don't know, it's some deep shit, bro, but at the end of the day, I'm a man of optimism, and I think it's all for the better too. I'm with you on all of it. I'm with you on all of it. I wish I could say more that was smart and cool and whatever that would help something, but there's nothing. It's just, you just hope that people smarten the fuck up, like cut the bullshit. I don't know. I don't know.
I agree with you.
Weird.
I feel what you're saying. It's the passion coming out. It's the frustration. It's everything kind of rolled into one. But I will say this, is that as much as it's broken my heart, what I think it's done is it's given these people a voice. And I look at 2020 as a weird kind of flux in history of mankind. I look at 2020 as it's the start of a new decade. It was a fucked up start right from the get-go. We had COVID. We had, we had from COVID, we went into all the suffering and everything that's going on right now, especially in the U.S. Black Lives Matter, which is a huge, important part of history that we have to look at, and we have to correct the way things are done. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to say it doesn't happen just in the U.S. It happens all over the world, and it needs to stop. And everybody needs to just be treated. This literally has to be, to quote Bob Marley, it's one love. That's what it's all should be about. It should be about respecting your fellow human being. And that's what I believe the speaking out movement is about too. It's correcting the ignorance of past generations that had no respect. They had respect for the business. Yep. They had respect for kayfabe. They didn't have respect for human beings. And I've heard the stories. Yep. I've seen the stories. I've literally seen, like, even where I'm from here, recently, last year, we had an all-boys college here in Toronto called St. Mike's. They were brought under huge scrutiny for what was happening on their hockey team. Hazing, beatings, assaults of the sexual and physical kind, just all kinds of stuff. And then it was like, oh, well, it's the norm. No, it's not. It's not the norm. It's not the way things should go. The way things should go is that everyone should be treated with respect. And the worst part about it all, as much as the internet has been out there to spread these things from all the clips going viral about everything that's going on in the U.S. with all the protests and all the suffering and how everybody's going through that, and then speaking out how everybody's speaking their truths. As much as it's been great for that, there's been all the bullshit of all those keyboard warriors, all those people that just like to get on keyboards because they're behind their computer and it's safe and they can speak their piece or speak their truth, and their truth is not a truth. Their truth is just feeding into throwing more gasoline on an already lit fire. The whole world, as far as I'm concerned, is ready to burn. It's ready to go down in flames. But these situations like this, as much as they break us heart, I think they give us hope next year. 2020 is already 100%. Halfway over, but I know 2021 has got to be better than 2020 was. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, man. Shit is manure, which means it's fertilizer for new things to grow. So when you're in the shit, remember, you will grow, you will change, you will evolve, you will ascend. We all have to. That's the game. And I agree with you, but the shit, the problems, the issues, that's the fucking deal, bro. That's what makes things grow, and that's what this movement is, and I agree with you. I agree with you 110%. It's cool time to be alive, man. It's freaking crazy. But you're right, 2020, man, there's some clear vision for you right there. It's opening your eyes, and yeah, you you just, for me as a human, the thing I always think about is people's safety, is like in terms of physical war, like everyone just learning to just chill the fuck out. We can all, through some decent conversation and some open discussions, beautiful things can happen, and real communication, not in always pointing the finger. Pointing the finger is good, but I do believe in sitting down with the opposition, whether you agree with them or not, but sitting down with them and just having a conversation where there could be maybe a perspective met, where there's always, I think humans have this capability. That's why we're extraordinary beings. We have this capability where we could sit down and talk about things if you're honest enough, if you're willing to be vulnerable enough and admit your bullshit. There could be a lot of beauty that comes from that. But unfortunately, we're still in this phase where we're weeding these things out and we're figuring it out. It might take another couple hundred years, man. I'm not sure. But that's how I look at it all. It's but very beautiful nonetheless. I think it's important to constantly look at life as a gift, because it can end at any moment for any of us. And ultimately, what was it all worth to you, Hopefully you expressed yourself to the fullest. So, yeah, man.
Absolutely. I think we're vibing on the same wavelength. I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. This is a great conversation. So let's flip it back to a little bit. Let's flip it back to a little bit more positivity right now. So you had this vision when you were 4 years old. You're like, okay, Macho Man, he's going for the elbow drop from the top. When did you decide you were going to step in the ring? What was training like for you? And how did you come up with the design of your character? For me, I'm big on the character development. I want to know, because I've seen your Instagram. I checked it out when we started talking before we set this whole thing up. And there's one really epic photo of you just on the ground, kind of in the middle of like a street. And I fucking love it. It's like a dope photo. And I was got to ask him about that. So let's talk about training to character development to where the 11th Warrior came from.
Okay. I might forget one of those questions somewhere, so just like keep me on track. I'm all over the place. But yeah. Training, dude, I trained at ESW. I started when I was Empire State Wrestling, which is out of Buffalo, New York. I'm sure you've heard of it, maybe. I'm from North Tonawanda, New York, Niagara Falls, actually, just like outside of, on the American side, of course. And I was in a high school, man, and one of my friends came up to me and said, hey, there was this local wrestling school. I want you to be you should be a part of it. You want to be a pro wrestler, right? I said, fuck yeah. So I went to ESW. I started, like I said, 17 years old. Long story short, I shortly after that, one of the trainers brought me to England, where I got to work for the Knight family, Paige's parents, and was there for about 6 months. And then I made the decision where I wanted to go to OVW. Now, at the time, I was in college. I just got in college. I was studying psychology. And I wanted to find a way to, like, sneak out of college and somehow go to OVW, but I didn't know how I was going to do that. And so I quit college, man. And my dad didn't know for the longest time. And my mom knew. My mom was real supportive. My mom was like, go get your dreams. But my dad, he was a politician. They were divorced anyway, but he just didn't know. But he got me my college stuff. So yeah, anyway, I had to take the chance. But shortly after, dude, I went to OVW and really started training there, I would say. I started ESW, worked for about, 8 months, doing a show once a month. But really, England and Ohio Valley Wrestling was like the main thing for me, where I got real experience. When we were in England, we were doing, gosh, it was 17 shows in 1 week. So it was like 2 to 3 shows a day, bro.
Wow.
At these holiday camps. And yeah, it was real busy. And then OVW was an incredible experience. I don't know. I could say so many cool things about that place because it was just like, it was where I learned my bread and butter, dude. I was trained by Rip Rogers and Al Snow. I was under all these guys, Jim Cornette. I mean, everybody. There were so many people. Paul Heyman at the time. There was just a ton of people at OVW, and just training under all these minds, man. Being around the Matt Capitellis, being around the Johnny Nitros. I was kind of that era of wrestling. Simon Dean was there. It was a different, I don't know how good where you are in your history or when you came in, but anywho.
I'm pretty good. We're good. I've been a fan since I was 5 years old. I'm pretty good.
Okay, I'll shut the fuck up then. Yeah. Okay, so let me shut the fuck up. Okay. Yeah, man. So, nah, man, I just kind of, this was like my crew, dude, the Dolph Zigglers, and I got to be around these guys and watch them all go up, dude. And I was just one of those guys that was waiting for my chance to go up. And what was happening was WWE was interested in me, but they never hired me. They always gave me all these road shots where they'd put me on the road with them and let me do stuff. Then there was some extra work, and then I was getting a bunch of darks for years. And it was like a good 11 years of that and then finally, like, yeah, so I'm fast forwarding a bit much, but that was my experience. Like, I did Ohio Valley Wrestling. WWE eventually ended up pulling out of OVW. Danny Davis at the time, who owned OVW, didn't know what to do, didn't know if he was going to close down or what. Joey Mercury at the time stayed there, and he decided he wanted to keep this place afloat. And so he asked us, all these wrestlers who wanted to go move to Florida for WWE, he said, hey, are you guys willing to stay here and try to build this place? So that's what we did, dude. We stayed there. We gave it a shot. We built the place. And within a few years, we were selling it out all the time. So, yeah, just to give you kind of some context there. I don't know where you want me to go in this story, but ask your questions because I'll fly all over the place with that.
So after you built it up, when did you move to Kentucky?
So I moved to Kentucky. Well, I've been in Kentucky since 2004, the end of 2004. So I mean, I came to OVW, or I came to Kentucky for OVW.
Okay.
So yeah. So I left Buffalo. I left ESW. But from time to time, I would go up, do ESW, work their shows. It was cool. But for the most part, I was always a WWE guy. I wanted to be in the WWE. So yeah, a good friend of mine along the way who became a mentor of mine, Santino Marella, he ended up taking me in, a 19-year-old kid, who he hardly knew, but he just liked me, and he ended up taking me in on the studio hotel, man. And this dude ended up basically training me how to be a man in this world. and he became a really good friend of mine, still is to this day, a brother of mine who has taught me just simple ways of life, man, where my friendship with him in OVW and throughout his whole entire run in WWE was just incredible in terms of the way he always treated me and taught me how to be a good person. So I have to give him a shout out and just say thanks, Anthony, for always being a huge part of my life, dude. So yeah, so I want to say that. So the 11th Warrior came about, I would say actually about 4 years ago, where I don't want to get too much into it because I still have some feelings and reservations about how I feel, but I had a circumstance at WWE where they were looking at me and they were interested in this character that I created, the 11th Warrior. It was the Warrior of Truth, and they were interested in this. And I was told to go talk to somebody that day, and I went to talk to him, and he had me kicked out of the arena. And it was just a situation where my career was basically squashed within seconds. All the hard work, all the blood, sweat, and tears gone because I went up to the king on the wrong day and it was off with his head. So that was really hard for me. So I didn't know what to do with this 11th Warrior character for the longest time. I said, what is this 11th Warrior? Who am I? And the 11th Warrior is an extension of who I am in terms of how I see myself in the world, how I always have. I was a kid who grew up in special ed classes. I was picked on and bullied my whole entire life. And the 11th Warrior was this vision I saw of myself, a man wearing armor who has a sword that represents awareness, with that we wield at any point. And I just developed this idea of myself, of this is how I see myself in the world. And regardless if WWE likes me or not, I'm going to express this to the world. And it was funny, years later, WWE contacts me and said, we really like this thing you're doing. I was doing motivational speaking, and I was doing the best I can to help kids. I'm really into helping out the youth. And I was coming out as this moniker, the 11th Warrior. I'd go to these schools and it's like he's a pro wrestler, but I'd just be dressed up as this way I see myself. And I call it an avatar. And WWE took interest in this again, invited me to Raw. This was now in 2018, I want to say. 2018, December, Cleveland, Ohio. They call me. They say, this is really cool. We're going to give you a tryout in April. And why don't you come here, get some blood work done. I did that. And then they had me kicked out of the building again. So they said, oh, we thought you were supposed to be here, but you weren't. So you got to leave again. So that was heartbreaking.
Wow.
So I found myself. So the 11th Warrior is this like extension of me, man, where I felt like he was killed on the battlefield, but he's still going. They thought he was dead. And that's what the indie wrestling was. And that's what, even getting into it more before this pandemic happened, it kind of like halted everything. But I don't fret, because this is how I see myself still, whether I'm a wrestler or I'm just Jamin, the human, the human, because dude, as well as I do, this game of life is longer than just the business. The business is this, and then life is this.
Yep.
So, it's that's my motivation. And so now this is how I express myself until the time is right to perform. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
100%. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned Anthony Santino Marella, Anthony Corelli, because I know him very well as well. A lot of the shows I attend are out of his facility in Mississauga, Battle Arts Academy. I've interviewed him. I've interviewed his daughter. They are fantastic human beings, man. And his daughter, she's a killer. She's going to tear it up. She's going to absolutely, when she gets her moment, she's going to tear it up. Yeah. And you know what? She's a lot better looking than her dad in a dress. I can say that much. We all remember Royal Rumble. I can say she's a lot better looking than her dad.
Proud how that's even his kid still, he's so ugly, man. No, he's a good dude. Such a great human being. He's such a Anthony Corelli, man. Wow, dude. I don't know what that guy is. A guy. He just changed my life, man. He saw a 19-year-old kid and he said, dude, when you go to these OVW shows, dress up in a suit. I was like, why? He's like, because they'll take you serious. They'll look at you as a man. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I'll do that. I was a fucking kid. I didn't know. So I go out and get a suit, and and he would say, yeah, he put my tie. He was like an older brother, dude. He just always had a way of, and what a creep. He killed it, man. So yeah, it's cool that it's small world, dude. Small world, small effing world.
But I always say the rest of the community is very, 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 very small, and it's reputations, and it's connections, and it's all that kind of stuff that matters. So now you and we've developed that connection, we've developed that reputation, and I had an absolute blast with this conversation. I really did. I had a great time with this, man. So before I let you go, if you want to let everybody out there know your socials, where they can find you, how they can keep up on you, so that when the whole world gets back to whatever the new normal is, the 11th Warrior can be found wherever he's needed.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, yeah, first and foremost, thanks to everyone that's listening and that's interested in wrestling. You make this shit go round. Without you guys, none of this is possible. Without you guys, this show isn't possible. So thanks for supporting my good man here and just being good people, and continue to do so. He's got a lot of great energy, and I think I see this thing really blowing up. With that being said, you can find me on social under Jamin Olivencia or the 11th Warrior. You can go to my website, jaminolivencia.com. I do personal development, work with people, and also professional wrestling. If you ever need me to talk at a school or whatever, contact me. What's up? And you guys be the best you can.
Fantastic. And as all you guys already know, I'll shout them out again just because it's fun to say it, because I like to shout my own name out as much as possible. On Twitter at _Straight Talk, and on Instagram and Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling. And you can find us every Thursday on Podbean, and now officially on YouTube. I am blowing up on YouTube, and it's been a great run, and it's been 2 years of awesome conversations like this. And now I can say, Jamin, you have my Skype ID, I have yours. You are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. Anytime you want to come back, my man, I would absolutely love to have you on the show.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it when the time's there, for sure. Absolutely. Thank you, man. Thanks for seeing you.
So you go enjoy the rest of your night. You stay safe. Say hello to your daughter, and I will say hello to mine from you. And I just can't wait to see everybody get back in the ring and everybody be safe. And I got to say, as much as wrestling conversations go, I felt you and we connected a lot on wrestling, but I felt we talked a lot about life today. And I thought that was the most enjoyable part of it.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me. I have a tendency to do that, so sorry if I go off on the life stuff more than the wrestling. I know this is a wrestling show, but just thanks for anybody who listened, and I appreciated our connection, man. It's very heartfelt, and you be the best you can. Like, just continue to be a good human. If you fuck up, own it, and just keep moving. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I do. I tell my daughters that the same thing every day. I say, you make a mistake, you fuck up, you own it. It's easier to tell the truth than it is to spill bullshit. I 100% agree with that, my friend. So you take care. Enjoy the rest of your night. And as always, guys, I am your host, your boy, George McKay. Peace out. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, Jamin.
Peace out, brother.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for another episode on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. Also follow us on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And for all our merchandise, you can search us on ProWrestlingTees.com.